Effects of a multimedia environment on newspaper relevancy. My name is Mariah Gonzalez, and this is for Research Methods, Spring 2018. Newspapers are losing relevance due to technological advances and ease of access via the internet. The newspaper industry must innovatively move towards a presence on more than one platform by providing relevant information and maintaining readership among a range of audiences, as well as catering to their interests. Social media poses a threat to the newspaper industry by easily accessible online content. Understanding and providing content best suited for each audience and generation standards is essential to the newspaper industry's success. There were 4 key topics found in the literature review that are the focus of this proposal. Cultural viewpoint of a newspaper. The information presented by the author of this study focuses on a cultural viewpoint of the newspaper and compares it to the offerings of the digital age and technology. While the advantages and endless possibilities that technology can offer, it does not always provide the same experiences as a tangible hard copy can. While the study does not offer numerical data or values, it identifies the intangible feeling of the newspaper and how journalists may be able to embrace that. This also raises a question of a journalist's perceptions of their industry and their work. The second is social medias for social connections. This study offers a comparison between the use of Facebook and traditional newspapers to stay informed. The author poses an argument concerning the use of social media platforms for connecting socially. The author concludes that Facebook and social medias are good and bad for newspapers. The study suggests an analysis of potential conflicts and opportunities. While the article identifies potential issues associated with social media practices, it can be used to create a sense of community. In recent years, and with the rise in popularity of social media, the newspaper industry may be able to utilize the platforms to target younger audiences and increase readership. The fourth topic is audiences and markets. Audiences and markets are related because of their interests in reading the news and in what forms. An interview approach of a college-age sample was used to conduct this research. The author was able to identify within this study sample that while there were preferences for news sources, news was often acknowledged through a variety of sources. The results of the study also indicated that print newspapers were still highly regarded as being trustworthy sources of information. The author suggests future research can be conducted into the communication and information functions of news providers. The content newspapers feature may need to shift in order to accommodate readers' interests by age groups. A majority of the sample favored print newspapers, but the application of this favoritism may potentially vary in terms of location, age, socioeconomic status, and other factors. And the final topic is content preferences. This study is related to the readership and content which was analyzed by questionnaires given to college-age students. The results of the study indicated that the students did not disregard print newspapers entirely. However, due to the content provided by the newspapers, the answers or information they were seeking was not always readily available or produced by the newspaper. The author suggests expansion within the market to continue to compete as a news provider. The results can be applied to comparing content and preferences to market to younger audiences. The content provided by newspapers may be specific to local and regional audiences, but the study did not indicate what information was specifically sought out by the younger audience and was not found. The purpose a print newspaper serves to a specific community would vary on content, but also by demographics and other factors. I have 2 research questions for this proposal. The first is, to what extent does accessibility to media platforms affect the audience's content preferences? This will be a comparison of the reader's use of media platforms to the content of choice presented in both digital and print media. The second research question is, to what extent do media platforms affect readership? This will be a comparison of the success of newspapers by their digital presence. I have 2 hypotheses for this research proposal. The first is, if accessibility to media platforms affect the audience's content preferences, then I hypothesize that the median age of the reader for digital content will be younger than the average age for the reader for print content. Hypothesis 1 is directional, lower, and test for differences, looking for differences in content preferences in both digital and print media. The second hypothesis is, if media platforms affect readership, then I hypothesize that the range of age will be higher with readership on different platforms. this hypothesis is directional higher and tests for differences, looking for differences between age and media platforms for digital and print. The research methods for this proposal include volunteer sampling, quantitative research, and a quasi-experiment research design. Volunteer sampling allows participants to partake in the survey because they want to, allowing loyal readers to participate and express opinions on content available on print and digital platforms. Quasi-experiment research design is best suited for my research because it will gather data that can be interpreted to benefit the success of the selected newspaper, and how they relate to the different content and availability will be provided by the research. The results will then be able to assist the newspaper in altering how they distribute content to their audiences so that they can have a maximum reach and effect. It will also allow for statistical analysis of data obtained by participants related to audiences' preferences of content and readership in relation to media platforms. Surveys will be included in the print newspapers for readers to complete and send in, and posts with links will be made available on all of the newspaper's digital content for readers to complete online. Data collection for this proposal will mean eligibility of participants at least 18 years old and living in either the city or the suburb of the city where the newspaper is located. An incentive for the participation in the survey will include 1 free month of print content and access to digital content for completion of the entire survey. Our target sample size for this study is 350 participants. Data collection will span over the course of 9 months. The target sample size was determined by time, and the type of sample being used also factored into consideration on the sample size because the survey will be answered by choice of the readers. Potential challenges of this research proposal include relying on readers' inclination to complete the survey. Payment as form of persuasion may skew survey answers. Age of participants may skew content and platform preferences. Generalizability results will be specific to selected newspapers, while the results may not be generalizable to other newspaper audiences and populations because they will be specific to the selected newspaper for this study. Data analysis for this research proposal include the independent variable, which will be the frequency of participants' readership of newspapers' content, either print or digital. It will range between 1 and 7, which will determine reader frequency, and it will be measured by calculating the mean of participants' response to this question. On a scale of 1 to 7, where 1 is once a week and 7 is 7 days a week, how often do you read the content provided by the selected newspaper? For the dependent variable, platforms where newspaper content is available, we will have 4 treatment groups. These will be measured in percentages, as in 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%, where 25% of the content is present on both print and digital platforms, which will also be the same for the 50% category, 75% category, and 100% category. A one-tailed t-test will be used as part of the data analysis because it's specific differences to be found that are identified in the research questions. The significance of this type of research ties back to the introduction of this presentation. Why are newspapers still relevant? And why are they still continuing to make an impact? How social media poses issues to newspapers, but how there are ways for newspapers to use it as a positive tool for their industry. Preferences by generations differ, but continued market research can help newspapers become more relevant among young people. How news on social media differs from print news because anyone can publish anything and say that it's true on the internet. Age and generations play a part in who the readers are. The technological gap and understanding of an older generation and how they receive information differently are all important factors to consider. I've included a list of references for this research proposal. At this time, I will answer any questions. If there are no questions, this does conclude my presentation. Thank you for your time.